Welcome to the Ark to Wisdom. This is an Ark Session, a place to slow down, to breathe, and to step away from the noise of the world for a little while. For thousands of years, people from every corner of the world have searched for the same thing, not more knowledge, but a clearer way of seeing. Across cultures, centuries, and traditions, they discovered truths that continue to guide us today, because truth does not grow old. Tonight, we'll walk beside some of the greatest wisdom ever preserved, not to learn something new, but perhaps to remember something you've always known. Let's begin. There is a road that runs through all of this. It is muddy tonight. Rain has fallen somewhere behind us, and the ground remembers it. You can hear that kind of ground if you listen, the way it holds the shape of a step long after the step has moved on. We will walk that road slowly. We will stop at 5 places along it. At each stop, someone is carrying something. Some of them know it, some of them don't. See if you recognize the weight. 2 monks were traveling together down a muddy road after heavy rain. That is how the story begins. Not with a lesson, with mud and 2 men walking through it. Nothing marked, nothing expected, just the next stretch of ground in front of them. At a crossing, they came upon a young woman in a silk kimono. She could not step across without ruining it. The mud was deep there, the kind that swallows a hem and does not give it back. Tanzan did not deliberate. He lifted her in his arms, carried her across, and set her down on the other side. No words were exchanged. They simply walked on. The road did not stop for what had just happened. Only people stop for what has just happened. The road itself has no memory. It only has the next stretch and the next. Aikido stopped for it. He carried it all afternoon into the evening, into the room where they finally sat down to rest. Only there, hours later, did he set it on the table between them. "We monks don't go near women," he said, "especially not young and lovely ones. It is dangerous. Why did you do that?" Notice the tense. Why did you do that? Past, finished, hours old. He is not asking about something happening now. He is asking about something that ended before the afternoon had even properly begun. Tanzan's answer is so plain it almost slips past you. "I set the girl down back at the crossing. Are you still carrying her?" He is not being clever. He is telling the truth about his own body. His arms had held her for the length of a river crossing and then let go because the crossing ended and there was no more woman to carry. What happened, happened. It occupied exactly the space it occupied, and then it was over, the way a held breath is over the moment you release it. Aikido's arms had never touched her, and yet his arms, the inner ones, the ones we use to hold on to things that are no longer there, had been carrying her since morning, heavier, if anything, than Tanzan's had, because Tanzan's had a beginning and an end. Aikido's had only a beginning. He never told himself when to stop. Here is the strange part. The one who touched her was free. The one who did not touch her was burdened. It was never about the woman. She had already gone on her own way somewhere down the road, her kimono a little damp perhaps, otherwise untouched by any of this. It was about which of the 2 men set something down when the moment ended, and which of the 2 men picked it up afterward, quietly, without noticing his own hands doing it. Notice, Aikido did not decide consciously, "I will carry this all day." No one decides that. It happens the way a coat is left on a chair, without anyone choosing to leave it there. Not setting something down feels, from the inside, like nothing at all. That is exactly what makes it so easy to keep doing, hour after hour. Most of what we carry was never handed to us by the event itself. The event ends. It always ends. What continues is a decision made silently, over and over, to keep holding what the moment already released. You have a road like this, too. Something crossed. Someone lifted, set down, walked on. And somewhere behind you, maybe hours ago, maybe years, there is a version of you still standing at that crossing, arms still curved around something that finished happening a long time ago. The crossing is behind you. The mud has probably already dried. Let the mud dry a little more. Let the road be just a road again. No woman on it, no monks, no question waiting to be asked over supper. Just the quiet after, just the sound of your own breathing, if you are listening for it. There was a man, Zhuangzi tells us, who so hated his own shadow and so feared his own footprints that he decided to run away from them. Picture him. It is the kind of mistake that looks foolish from the outside and feels entirely reasonable from within. He looks down. There is a shadow attached to his feet. He looks behind. There are footprints attached to his path. Both feel like pursuers, refusing to be shaken loose. So he runs. Of course, the shadow does not fall behind, because it was never chasing him. It was the shape his own body made in the light. And the footprints do not stop appearing, because they were only the mark his own weight left in ground he was already standing on. They are not separate from him. They are him in a different form. You cannot outrun your own shape. The faster he runs, the more footprints accumulate behind him. The harder he runs, the more perfectly the shadow keeps pace, because there was no pace to keep. It was always exactly where he was. It moved the instant he moved, because it was never a second traveler on the same road. It was one thing appearing to be two. He does not stop to consider this. He assumes he is simply not running fast enough. So he runs harder. There is something almost unbearable in that sentence, if you let yourself feel it rather than read it past quickly. Not because it is dramatic, because it is so familiar. Whatever is chasing you, run harder. It must be your speed that is wrong, not your direction. This is how a man spends his whole store of strength on a race that was never a race at all, because a race requires two, and there was only ever one runner on that road. He runs until his strength gives out. He collapses. He dies. Zhuangzi does not soften what comes next. The man never realized that by standing still in the shade, his shadow would have vanished. By sitting quietly, his footprints would have stopped appearing. His mistake was thinking the problem could be outrun when it could only be released. Notice how gentle the solution actually was, set against how violent the effort became. Not a harder run, just shade, just stillness. Whatever you have run from, whatever kept appearing behind you no matter how far or how fast you traveled, was it ever actually chasing you? Or was it just quietly, faithfully attached to you, waiting only for you to stop long enough to notice that pursuit had never been necessary? It rose when you rose. It moved when you moved. All your running only proved how closely it belonged to you. The running does not tire the shadow. It has no legs of its own, no need for rest. The running tires the man, only the man. Somewhere the shade is close. Somewhere there is a place to simply sit down, not fight, not flee, not solve, and watch the thing that was never actually behind you settle of its own accord into stillness, the way it was always willing to. The road is quiet here. No footprints ahead of us now, no need to check behind. Just the ground holding still, just the shade if you want it, close enough to reach. There was a certain man who had 2 sons. The younger one came to his father and said, "Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me." That is a strange request if you notice it. He is asking to inherit as though his father were already gone, to collect the ending before the story has finished. The father says nothing recorded against this. He simply divides his living between them. Not many days after, the younger son gathers everything together and takes his journey into a far country. There he wastes his substance with riotous living, not misfortune, just waste, spent freely, the way a fire is fed without anyone asking how much wood is left. And then it ends, the way such things end. A mighty famine rises in that land. He begins to be in want. The one who left with everything now hires himself out to feed pigs, and is so hungry he would gladly eat what the pigs are eating, and no man gives him anything. This is the bottom of the road. There is nowhere lower written into it. And here is the sentence worth pausing on. And when he came to himself, not when he had suffered enough, just when he came to himself, as though all that time in the far country he had been someone other than himself, as though the waste and the want had been a kind of sleep, and this, among the pigs of all places, was simply the moment of waking. He decides to go back. He rehearses what he will say, the way anyone rehearses an apology they are afraid will not be enough. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee. I am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants." He has the whole confession prepared, weighed for the right amount of shame. He believes he must earn his way back in slowly as a servant from the bottom. He never gets to deliver it in full. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him. A great way off, which means the father had been watching that road for some time, scanning that horizon day after day for a shape that might be him. There were ordinary afternoons when the father stood at the edge of his own field for no reason anyone else could see, looking down an empty road. The waiting was not new that day. The father does not wait at the door, weighing the apology, deciding whether it is sufficient. He runs. An old man in that world, running was not a dignified thing to do, out across the field, and falls on his son's neck and kisses him before a single confessional word has finished leaving the son's mouth. The best robe, the ring, the fatted calf, a celebration ordered before the apology is even complete, before anyone has determined whether the son will be received as a son or as a servant. Here is what is easy to miss. The son believed he had to arrive as a servant to be received at all. He believed grace would come slowly, and only after he had proven through some measure of suffering that he deserved it. But grace was already running toward him while he was still a great way off, still rehearsing, still unsure of his welcome. He thought forgiveness was something he would have to earn his way into, one careful sentence at a time. It was already on its way to him before he had said anything at all. Let that road empty out for a moment. Let the field go quiet. No one is running anymore. No one needs to be found. Just rest here in the part after the welcome. Nothing left to prove. This one is short. Some truths do not need a story. They only need to be said plainly and left alone in the room with you. Hatred does not cease by hatred at any time. Hatred ceases by love. This is an old rule. Notice the phrase, at any time. Not usually, not except when the grievance is large enough, when the wrong was severe enough to justify an exception. No exceptions written into it. No clause for the offenses that seem, in the moment, to have earned a different response. And notice that it is called an old rule, not a fresh discovery offered tentatively. Old, which means people have tried the other way for a very long time, each one certain their case was the exception, hoping this time hatred might finally wear hatred down. It does not. It has never once done so. Every generation runs the same experiment. Every generation gets the same result. You cannot answer heat with more heat and expect anything but more heat. Hatred met with hatred does not cancel, it compounds. Each side certain the other must yield first, each side adding fuel in the name of finally ending the fire, and the fire obligingly grows larger with every log thrown at it. Only love, not the absence of response, but a different order of strength, actually closes it. This is not a comfortable teaching to hold at night if you are holding a grievance right now, because grievances feel so reasonable from inside them. They feel earned. The mind builds a very careful case for why this hatred is the exception. Why this one time the fire really will put out the fire, if only enough of it is applied. But the rule does not ask whether the hatred is deserved. It only says what hatred, deserved or not, is capable of accomplishing. It is not capable of ending itself. Fire does not put out fire. No quantity of it, however righteously kindled, changes what fire is. Something else has to enter the room for that to happen. Something that answers on entirely different terms. Let the fire, if there is one in you tonight, simply burn a little lower. Not out, just lower. No one is asking you to extinguish it in a single breath, only to let it settle a little in the dark. A learned scholar hired Nasruddin to ferry him across a river. Nasruddin was a boatman, simple, unlettered, his hands more familiar with the shape of an oar than the shape of a sentence. As they crossed, the scholar began to ask him questions of grammar and philosophy, fine distinctions that assume a shared world of study behind them. And Nasruddin, plainly without embarrassment, could answer none of them. The scholar shook his head. "You have wasted half your life," he said. Picture how certain he must have sounded. Not cruel exactly, just sure, the way a man is sure when he has spent years accumulating a currency and assumes without checking that it is the only currency there is. Half a life gone, wasted on rivers and rope, while grammar and philosophy went unclaimed. The boat rows on. And then the storm comes. It rises without asking permission, without any regard for what either man had planned. The little boat begins to take on water. It begins to come apart, plank from plank, the way things built for calm water do, when calm water stops being offered to them. Nasruddin turns to the scholar. Have you ever learned to swim? No. And beneath the word, the fear arrives right behind it, because he understands, faster than he wants to, what the question meant. Then you are about to lose all of it, Nasruddin says, not just half. No triumph in the line, no settling of an old score, just a plain statement, the kind a boatman makes about weather, about water. He kicks off his sandals, he swims for shore, he leaves the scholar and his grammar behind in the current. Here is the thing worth turning over slowly, the way you'd turn a stone to see the underside. The scholar was not wrong that Nasruddin lacked something. He truly did not know the structures of language, the vocabulary of learned men. That was real. But the scholar had made an assumption underneath his judgment, so quiet he never noticed making it, that his own accumulation, years of study, a mind built entirely out of what he had gathered, was solid ground, something that would hold him up no matter what the river did. It was not solid ground. It was a boat in a storm, built from the same materials as every other vessel that has ever come apart in water it wasn't made for. When the water came in, all that learning turned out to be knowledge about swimming, perhaps, if he'd studied that too. Not swimming itself. Not something his body could do simply because his mind understood the theory of it. Nasruddin carried less. He had less to defend, less identity built out of the words he could produce on command. So when the moment came that actually mattered, he had nothing weighing him down, no accumulated self to rescue along with his body. He kicked off his sandals and swam. We build so much of ourselves out of what we have gathered, degrees, opinions, certainties we can produce quickly in conversation, and come, without noticing, to believe that gathered self is who we are. The river does not ask what you have gathered. It does not consult your credentials before it rises. It only asks whether you can let go of the boat when the boat can no longer hold you, whether there is a self underneath the accumulated self, one that knows how to move through water on its own. Let the river settle now. Let the current slow to something you could almost stand in. No storm left in it tonight. Just water, moving the way water moves when nothing is fighting it. Just the shore, closer than it seemed a moment ago. 5 places along one road. A monk carrying a woman who was set down hours ago and never picked back up by the one who actually touched her. A man running from a shadow that was never behind him, spending his whole strength on a race with no other runner in it. A son rehearsing an apology that was answered before he could finish it, met by a father who had been watching the road far longer than the son knew. A rule old as anger itself, saying plainly what heat can never put out, no matter how justly it was kindled. A boatman, carrying nothing, swimming past a scholar who could not let go of everything he'd built himself to be. Different roads, different rivers, different centuries, different names for what was carried. Notice what all 5 have in common, because it is the same thing wearing 5 different sets of clothes. In every case, the thing being carried had already finished happening. The woman was already down some other road, thinking of neither monk. The shadow was never separate to begin with. The son's confession was interrupted by an embrace already decided long before he reached the gate. The hatred, however justified, could never end the way it wanted to, no matter how long it was allowed to burn. The boat, however learned its passenger, could not swim on its own. In every case, the carrying was optional. Not easy to notice as optional, that is the trick of it, but optional all the same. No one was required to keep holding any of it. The holding simply happened, the way a coat is left on the back of a chair, not through decision, but through the simple absence of ever deciding otherwise. Letting go is not losing something. It is putting down something you were never actually asked to hold. Something the moment handed you briefly, the way a stranger might hand you their coat to hold while they cross a puddle and then forgot to ask for back. Not because they didn't want it back, but because you never told them you were still holding it. You just kept holding it, arms curved around an absence, long after they had walked on, coatless in your memory, but perfectly warm in their own life. Maybe you are holding something like that tonight, lying here in the dark, with the day finally still around you. A judgment against someone who has long since moved on. A fear that keeps pace with you no matter how far you run, because it was never chasing you. It was only ever your own shape, moving when you moved. A grievance rehearsed so many nights, it feels like it belongs to you now, like part of your name. Some certainty about yourself, gathered the way a scholar gathers grammar, that you have quietly mistaken for solid ground beneath your feet. None of it asked to be carried this long. It only sat there in your arms, because you never noticed you could set it down. You can simply stop the way the man in the shade could have simply stopped, sparing himself the whole exhausting race. You can set it down the way Tanzan set the woman down, right there at the crossing, without a second thought, without needing anyone's permission first. The road will still be there in the morning. It was never asking you to carry anything past it.